When I was diagnosed with ADHD, I did not want to take medication at all. Matter of fact, for 3.5 years, I did not take any medication just because of all the things I heard about it. But then over the last 6 years, I've taken 5 different medications: Adderall, Adderall XR, Ritalin, Vyvanse, Wellbutrin, and Concerta. And this is just my experience of what to kind of expect when you do start taking medications. And I hope that this video helps you out. And the first thing I did not realize, I went into the doctor, I said, I want to start medication. I did not want to do Adderall and Ritalin in the first meeting. I said, I want to kind of avoid those and try something else. Now, I didn't realize it's going to take a lot of trial and error to find the right medications. So I had to try different ones. And the doctor said, hey, you know, this is part of the process. And we then are going to find the right doses and everything like that. So when you go in to see the doctor and are trying to get medication, it may be a process of trial and error when you do that. And it may take a little bit of time because of the way medications work, and try to find the right one that actually helps you focus, because some may not help you at all. And that can be a real issue. And the other thing about medications that I discovered when I watched Ned Hollowell, that when I went in and was going to try medication, that I think 70% of people it works for, and then 30% it doesn't work for at all. So I was just, well, hopefully it works for me. The first medication I got was Vyvanse. I didn't even know what it was or what the name meant or anything when I got it, because I was just like, I only knew Adderall and Ritalin, right? So the thing about it was, when I got it, I was like, okay, how does this work? And he explained it's an extended release. And so I really liked that, because it was a really smooth, gradual release of the medication. And I got about 8 hours of use out of it. Now, the thing about Vyvanse that I discovered, for me anyway, was that I was just nauseous in the morning for like 2 hours or so, maybe 1 hour. But I had to make sure, the other thing I had to do, I had to make sure that I ate something, or I get really, really nauseous when I took Vyvanse. And so not sure if that's going to be your experience as well. But the thing about it is that was okay, because I was getting more focus out of the day. And you had high blood pressure, so I knew that was a side effect. And insomnia was also a side effect, but I kind of stayed up late anyway, so insomnia didn't affect me as much. And so that was just my experience with Vyvanse, and I really enjoyed it. Now, the thing about it was, my insurance would not keep covering Vyvanse. They were like, hey, I'm not covering Vyvanse anymore. It's $300 for you to keep taking Vyvanse. I was not going to pay $300 per time I had to go get Vyvanse, because you're doing it within 30 days, and that's a lot to pay for medication. So I told my doc, hey, I have to get something else. This is not going to be working for me anymore because of the cost of the medication. And now let me tell you how it feels to be on medication, at least for me and my ADHD brain. It feels like you have glasses, can't see anything without the glasses. That was me. I've had glasses before, can't see anything without contacts or glasses at all. Had to get surgery to make sure I could see. Now, the thing about it is, once you take the medication, it is like putting on those glasses or those contacts and being able to see everything for the first time super clear, like 20/20 focus and whatever else you need to take in and remember things. Really good feeling that first time, and that's what you'll realize. That's what I realized anyway, when I start to actually take medication. But while this is great, there is a downside to taking medication that I didn't realize before I started taking it. You're going to focus better, but you're going to focus on whatever is in front of you a lot better. Playing video games, you're going to focus on video games. Doing something that's not productive at all, you're really going to dial in and focus on that. So that's the disadvantage I found. I was like, oh, wait, I don't want to focus on that, but I've taken my medication, so I'm dialed in and focus on that thing that I didn't really need to focus on. So that's the disadvantage that I found when I was taking medication. I had to make sure I was taking it at the right time when I need it for the right activity, or it just ended up I'd be focusing a lot of time on the wrong thing. And if you're enjoying this content, then go ahead and subscribe to your channel and like the video. And now let's talk about instant release medication and then extended release medication. Taking both Adderall, Ritalin, instant release. About 30 minutes after taking it, it's going to kick in. It really does kick in super fast. You notice it when it kicks in. At least I did. And then when you come off of it, you really notice it, because it's like an instant kind of crash when you come off of it. And so the thing about it is, with extended release medication, it's a much slower, smoother, gradual kind of release. And so a lot of times when I was taking extended release medication, I didn't really feel it or notice it until I was looking at something and realized I'm focusing better. And I was like, oh, it must be active. And so after that point, it lasts about 8 hours for me. Now, it is really dependent on your metabolism. So if you metabolize stuff really fast, the time is going to be a lot shorter for you. And if you metabolize stuff really like slow, you're gonna get a lot more time using the medication and the effects of it. So you have to figure that out once you start taking it, because then you know, okay, is this really being active for this amount of time? Or do I want to take, the other kind of medication because I want it active for more time? But that's up to you to figure out which one's going to work best for you. And now let me tell you about these side effects I felt from different medications. Generally, your side effects are for just all of these for me was loss of appetite, can't sleep, insomnia, and then just like higher blood pressure were things that I felt no matter which medication I took. These are things that were just common throughout each of them. First, I'm going to talk about Adderall. I was kind of on the fence about Adderall just because all the bad things I'd heard about it and everything in the news. Wasn't sure what it was going to be like. And I think about Adderall is dry mouth, really bad. I had to have something like water around me all the time just to make sure when it got super dry, I had something to drink right near me. That was not something I enjoyed. Just irritable, anxious a lot of times. Sometimes things that people would say or do would just get me on edge, or I would just be like really on edge just in general anyway. And it just was not a good experience and that I really didn't enjoy. The other thing was sometimes with Adderall, I would just be like zoning out, and not like hyper focus zone out, like, sometimes we'll get, but really zoning out just for a few seconds. And it got noticeable because people would be like, hey, are you okay? What's going on? Everything. And I would then pop out of it. But it was really, I just kind of knew that was some effect that Adderall had on me. And I just didn't like it at all. That was just something I was like, okay, I have to change to something else because this is not working for me. Even though the focus part was working for me, but the other things around it was just not good. And I needed something completely different because of the way that it affected me. Now, it may not affect you this way. It may be okay for your ADHD brain, but this is just my experience and how it affected me. And next up is Concerta. Now, I did not like Concerta at all. It may work for you. It did not work for me. I felt nauseous all the time. Didn't have an appetite, but I felt nauseous anyway, so that was okay for me. And the thing about it was I just felt weird on it all the time. I didn't feel good at all any time of the day that I was on it. It took me only about 2 days to call my doctor. I was like, hey, I can't do Concerta at all. You need to give me something else. And I was on the lowest dose of Concerta as well too. And the thing about it is that it just didn't work for me. That doesn't mean that it will not work for you or that it won't work for you. It just did not work for me because of the way that it made my body feel. And let's talk about Ritalin. Ritalin is the one I take now, and the dry mouth is back with Ritalin. It gets really bad sometimes. I have to have some water around me all the time to drink to eliminate the dry mouth, or else I'm just like really not enjoying it, okay? And then irritability is another thing with Ritalin. I have to really watch myself to make sure I'm not snapping at somebody or just being unpleasant to somebody or just letting things bother me more than they should, because it can be a real big issue. Another thing is sweating. Start sweating for no reason when you're on Ritalin, and that's at least how it works, at least how it does for me, and that can be an issue. It's just kind of annoying though, but it's still one of the things I don't want to happen, because then, I got to take a shower. That's okay, but I don't like the fact that it makes me sweat. And the other thing about Ritalin is the nausea that comes with it. Generally 30 minutes to an hour in the morning, that's when I take it. And so after I take it, I know that nausea is going to come. And then after that time, it goes away, especially when I eat something, get some food in my stomach, then it does go away. But it is still the really annoying side effect of when you take it, that when I take it, that it kicks in like that. Now with Wellbutrin, I take Ritalin and Wellbutrin together. It doesn't interact in a way that gives me more side effects when I take them both together, because some of the side effects of Wellbutrin overlap with Ritalin. But I do notice that when I take Ritalin by itself and miss Wellbutrin, the side effects from Ritalin are the same. And that's not all the time, but it does occasionally happen. And so the fact of the matter is, I don't know if Wellbutrin is actually increasing the side effects. I just know that they work well together for me. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to work well together for you. That's just my experience. Now, I'm diagnosed with bipolar disorder 1 as well. And so it doesn't send me into mania taking Wellbutrin as well either. So that's a good thing as well. And let's talk about stimulant versus non-stimulant medication. Most of the medication I take has been stimulant, and those have worked best for me. The one non-stimulant medication that I took did not work for me, not because it didn't help me focus, it's just because the side effects were really bad on the Concerta. And so the thing about it is, they really all kind of work and give you similar kind of focus. At least for me, that's what I felt, and didn't really tell a huge amount of difference between the medications when I was trying to focus. Maybe because as long as I get the effect that I want of being able to focus on something, it doesn't really, go to a different level for me. I'm focused, I'm good. That's all I kind of really care about, as opposed to how focused I was or how focused I wasn't at the time taking different medications. That wasn't really something I had noticed or even really kept track of, because I was just surprised or just really excited that I was able to focus anyway on all these different medications. And here's my experience with the dosages of these different medications. They usually start you at the lowest dosage and then ramp you up. So if you get the lowest dosage and you're like, I'm not feeling anything, not feeling focused or anything, then the doctor will usually ramp you up to the next one and then see how you do on that one. And then if you don't still feel anything on that dosage, if it has another dosage that you can take, then they'll ramp you up to the next one. But you just have to go through that process, because they are going to, or generally they will start you at the lowest dose imaginable for you to see how you feel on that dosage, see if the side effects there, see if it helps you at all, and is it going to be a good fit for you. And they are going to look at you for your response and side effects and how you feel. So you do have to tell them, because they can't really know what's going to work for you if you don't really communicate, hey, this is not working at all, I just want something else, or this is really working for me, but can I get this other higher dose or this lower dose, because I feel like that worked better for me. And I've gone up and down in dosages a lot of times, just because I want to feel like, okay, this kind of works at this level, can I dial it back to this level and see how it works? And sometimes it worked better at the lower level, and sometimes it worked better at the higher level. And I'm really kind of an advocate for, how can I take this and be at the lowest dosage possible and still get the effect that I want? And so I always kind of opt to see if I can get the lowest dosage and see if that works for me before actually going up to the next step. And just be aware of this. This is something I discovered before I started taking medication. Medications don't work for everybody. And so you may never find the one that works for you. It's really just a trial and error kind of thing. And it works only for 70% of the people. So the other 30% of the people have to figure out something else to do besides medication if you decide to take medication. So you're just trying to go through and find the one that works for you. And if you don't find the one that works for you, you don't find any that work for you, then you have to figure out other options of things to do. But just be aware that that could be the situation that you're in. And I hope it's not if you want to take medication, but it's just warning or an FYI when you're thinking about doing medication. And here's the thing, you probably are going to forget your medication to take it at some point, sometime. You'll just forget it, you'll lose it, you just don't know where it is, or you'll be doing something and realize you haven't taken it. And that happens all the time. And think about it is, if I don't really think, this is not a day that I need the medication, or I'm just not feeling like I'm really unfocused at the time, then sometimes I just forget to take it at all until I think about it. I'm like, oh, I didn't take it today. And so that may be something that happens to you when you start taking medication. Now, think about it is, if you forget, there's a certain time frame that you do not want to take it at the time that you've forgotten. I think that's the right way to say it. Anyway, if you forget and you end up and it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you want to get to sleep tonight, well, you probably don't want to take it at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because you will not get any sleep that night. You'll be up rearranging your apartment or home, at 2 o'clock in the morning. You'll just be really focused and motivated, but you won't get any sleep. So that's just At least for me, that's how it works. So if I take it after 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I know that I'm not getting any sleep that night. And so just a warning to you, an FYI to you, that if you're gonna take medication and for your ADHD brain and you're like, hey, I'm gonna take it, I missed the dose, gonna take it at 4 o'clock, that's something that I would not recommend you doing, because the effect is you will not get any sleep generally on the medication. At least for me, that's how it works for me, as I don't plan to get any sleep when I take it that late. And something I really had to pay attention to when I take different medications is when it wears off, how I feel. Do I feel like, wow, it wore off and I feel like it's kind of crashed, I was not feeling good afterwards? Or do I feel like, oh, it wore off really good? Instant release medication has that really major drop, when it comes off. And hopefully you don't get into that situation where it does that for you. But for me, it actually does do that. Now with extended release medication, it's more of a gradual come off that medication. So for me, it wasn't as bad. Sometimes I didn't even notice it when it was actually done and I didn't have it anymore in my system. So that's just something you need to pay attention to and see how it works for you when you come down off the medication. And here's something you may not be ready for when you start taking ADHD medications. The cost of the medications are expensive. Just a lot more expensive than a lot more medications. Matter of fact, when I go to the pharmacist to get my medication and they look at the price of it, their eyes get big and they say, are you sure this is the right price for this medication? Yes, I'm sure that's the right price for your medication. So just be aware that you are going to pay a lot for your medication when you go. At least in the United States, you probably going to pay a lot more than the normal price for other medications, because of the fact that medications are so expensive, especially like Vyvanse. Vyvanse was super expensive for me, and I have no idea why, but it's just one of the things that I noticed as you take different ones, how much it actually costs when you go to the drugstore to actually pick it up. And the other thing is, when you go there, make sure you have your ID on you too as well, because they will ask you for it. They will make you sign for it. If you don't have your ID, they may not actually give you the medication because of the fact that it is a controlled substance. So make sure you have all that stuff ready and prepared and just actually have it out. I usually just take it out of my wallet and just hold it and give it right to them. I sign for it and then I'm good to go. And here's something else that's really important to know. They can at any time drug test you just randomly when you're taking ADHD medications, and they are going to check to see if that medication is in your system at the time that you take the drug test. So just be aware that that is something they can do, and you just walk in and they say, hey, you need to go take a drug test right now. We're going to test it and see if the medication's in the system. I think it's because they don't want you actually going and selling it to someone or misusing it or mishandling or anything like that. So that's just something you have to be aware of. Now, the thing also I think is, if you smoke anything that may be not the most legal kind of substance in parts of the US, if you get tested for that, then, and that's in your system, they may not approve you for medication as well. It just depends, and they may say, hey, you can't take medication beyond that particular thing. So just be aware of that when you actually go in to try to get medication as well. And if they test you and find it, then it may be one of the things that say, hey, you can't be on there. That might not be every case, but that's just the cases that I know of people I've talked to. I don't drink, I don't smoke anything, so I've never even had to worry about it. But you may be in that case where you do have to worry about it, so just an FYI to let you know. And here's something else to be aware of. ADHD medication shortages can be still going on in your area, and it just depends on where you are and if the medication is available. If it's not, then that can mean you have to wait for an extended period of time before you can actually get medication filled. Now you can actually, and I've actually done this, I've actually called around to different pharmacies to see which one has it. And sometimes I have to drive 30 minutes away, an hour away to actually get something filled just because it's not available in my area. And that can be a thing. But if you need it, then that's kind of something you have to do. But just kind of before you actually request it, call around and see which pharmacies may have it, so you can tell your doctor before he actually does the prescription, because if they have to write out a new prescription for you, then that could just cause the delay of getting your medication. And the other thing is, you can only get your medication one time in 30 days. So if you get close to that 30-day mark, they can't give you anything before that 30 days is up. So you need to make sure that you kind of prepare for that 30-day mark coming up. What I did, or what I used to do, is I would call them in advance and say, hey, my 30 days is coming up. Can you please put in the prescription, or get ready the prescription for the 30th day? And then it would sit at the pharmacy. And then when that 30th day came, I would just go to the pharmacy and pick it up then. But it wasn't like I was picking it up early. I just called my doctor and said, hey, send the prescription over to here, so it's there when my 30th day is up, so I can go in and pick my medication up right then and there. And that's helped me to avoid that. Now, that may not be the case in your area with your doctor, but that's just something that I did to make sure that I had medication available at the time when I needed to get it. And here's something else I learned. I learned that I had a lot of misconceptions about ADHD medication, and a lot of people still have misconceptions about ADHD medication, of how it works, or what it's compared to, or why it's bad and why it's, good. And there's so much information out there that's not really accurate information about taking ADHD medications. And so that is a lot of instances that you'll run across people that just don't know, and they're just gonna say, hey, why do you need this, and why is this going on? I've heard all this bad stuff about it. And you have to kind of go through and explain to them and let them know, this is not how this actually works. ADHD medication, basically, in a nutshell, brings your dopamine level up to the right level that everybody else is at in general. And because you have a shortage of dopamine in your brain, that's pretty much how it works. And so that's just the way that I can tell them and explain it to them without going into all the different things about how it actually works. For me, it's just a very simple, short explanation. And something else you may want to know is how to get everything done when you have ADHD. I have a video on that. Go ahead and click that video when it comes up and watch that video.